Hello everyone, welcome back to Matrix Wisdom YouTube channel. Today we're going to take a look at our ever-increasing dependency on computers. Computers have become a massive part of our daily lives. They're inside our smartphones, hospital equipment, transport vehicles, air traffic management systems, and other essential technology. With that in mind, imagine if you wake up one day and all the computers on the planet stop working. What would happen? Would nuclear reactors go into meltdown? Would airplanes fall out of the sky? Would the electrical grid go down? Would modern cars become unusable? For sure, without computers, there would be no internet. So most communications would cease. No email, no phones, no social media. Our reliance on computers makes the question of what would happen if they got shut down more relevant than ever. To gain an insight into the general public's thoughts on this matter, we asked 50 people from various backgrounds to share their opinions. We would also love to hear your views in the comment box below. Fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. Are we too dependent on computers? And what do you think would happen if all computers suddenly switched off?
We're massively too dependent on computers. I think if they all got switched off, it would be wonderful. And we'd all go back to communicating with each other, enjoying the simpler things in life, not staring at my phone when I should be enjoying the moments with my children.
I think to a point we are, because especially in young people, we need to be more present, I think, without technology. But for some who rely on computers, so social media stars, those who have to use their laptops for work, to save paper, climate change, I think it would be a bit more of a struggle if that got taken away for those who have to rely on computers for work. But I think for young people who spend so much time on technology, I think it would help if they would take away from their screens to be more present with those around them.
Yeah, I think we're extremely dependent on computers. If they were all switched off, I think people would die. Flights would not be able to land. People wouldn't be able to get medical help. Society would just absolutely shut down.
Definitely, we are way too dependent. Like, I would not be able to get here without my Google Maps. I would have been lost, and I wouldn't make it here on time, definitely. So I think it would be just chaos in the world.
Oh, we're definitely too dependent on computers, because they're connected. If they all switched off, all the railways would stop. It's connected to banking, so our society is now so dependent on computers, and I think that also factors into the earlier question about AI, about the fear of that.
I think we'd all be very stuck. I feel like we've become a world of really dumb people because we rely on computers too much. We rely on having that information, just being able to retain anything. So I feel like I don't think we'd descend into chaos, but I also think that we would struggle a lot, going anywhere, doing anything.
If we all got switched off, the world would go into chaos. Visa went down for one day and everyone was freaking out. So if everyone lost Wi-Fi and technology, I don't think they'd be able to cope with it, because so much run on technology now.
Yeah, I think we're a little bit too dependent on computers, the internet. I think if the internet just went down tomorrow, we'd freak out. We wouldn't have Twitter to complain about it, or X, or whatever you want to call it. I think if banking systems went down, people would go crazy and they wouldn't have a clue what to do all of a sudden. And where do we get our news and information from? We get it online, not through traditional media. So I think it would be a change.
It would be scary if they all got switched off. We are a little too dependent. Maybe when we saw the start of COVID, for example, we saw a slim window of what things would be like if things started falling apart. If we imagine if all computers just shut off, all technology shut off, we would be doomed. We wouldn't know what to do.
So technology obviously affects our lives in a lot of different ways, from things like social elements, like social media, down to things like banking, just mobile banking apps. So it is a massive part in our lives. I feel like on that basis, because we've become so lazy as well as a society for access to knowledge and things like that, you take that away, we have nothing. So yeah, there'd be mayhem.
I think we are too dependent on them, but I think it's unrealistic to say that we can just turn them off and everything will be okay. I think the world will absolutely crash to the ground if that happens. But I think there are ways to gradually reduce things, I don't know, making phone time limited, or to something like that, which I know people will probably disagree with because it's kind of dystopian, but I think that's the only solution.
So yes, because computers are just so much more than just a laptop. Like, we have computers in microwaves, kettles, dishwashers, washing machines. Just turn them all off, people are really going to struggle to live, and also I would be out of a job, so that'll be a problem.
Well, we will suffer for a short time, but we could live without it. We just created our lifestyle around the computers in the moment. So to go back a little bit, like a couple of centuries, that would take a little bit of a time to adapt, I think.
I think we are very dependent on computers. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. Like, I don't know if you've ever lost your phone, and it is literally like you've lost your right or left hand, whichever you are, and it's a nightmare. But after a couple of weeks, you get used to it. You get used to not scrolling through Facebook aimlessly. You get used to having to carry around a bank card. So we are very dependent on it, but I say I don't necessarily see it as a bad thing.
Yeah, I absolutely believe we're way too dependent. I think the moment they switched off, I think everyone would be way happier. You know, the constant demand for kind of online presence would go, and I think we'd find out very quickly which jobs in the world were essential and which ones were just a bit of fluff around the edge.
Oh God, yeah, definitely. You walk around town now on public transport, every person is just on the phone. I'd love everything to go down and just for the weekend, just see how people cope. So remember, social media went down for, was it 48 hours during lockdown? And people were just losing their shit. And it's like, why didn't you just do something else, you mugs? God. I think we're all suddenly switched off. Absolute anarchy, like the planes had fallen out of the sky and the economy had collapsed. So yeah, we probably are too dependent.
I think we aren't currently too dependent on computers. However, if they were sort of turned off and everybody was panicking, I think we'd panic for like a week, 2 weeks, but I think we get used to the idea of no technology quite quickly. Like, people coped without them. So, and sometimes, you know, when you do go on a bit of a technology detox for a few days, you realise it's actually quite easy. So, yeah.
Far too dependent, far too dependent. Working some shifts in a secure environment where staff aren't allowed to bring the phones in. I've seen people virtually go into complete meltdown because they can't access the personal phone to look on social media, etc., within a 7-hour shift. That implies we're far too dependent.
I think we are, 100%. There's a great TV show, it's called Survivors, and it was a show in the 70s, and then it was remade about 10, 15 years ago. And it highlights what would happen in these apocalyptic worlds whereby everything goes and there's no technology, there's no computers. We are reverted back to the age of the caveman, and we have to do everything ourselves. I think we do rely on it too much, and there's clear examples of that every day, because when the signal goes, when we can't make a phone call, when we can't go on the internet, we don't know what to do. So I think we've got to be careful. Technology is great when it can assist us, but we can't depend on it, because if everything were to go, I think the majority of people would not know where to turn.
I believe the younger generation are too dependent, because I'm from a generation where I grew up without a computer and everything, and I could see people were surviving without that technology. So I think, yeah, the younger generation would struggle, but people of my age and older probably would be fine with it if it all shut off. They can go back to basics, and I feel it'd be all for the better anyway, because I think people are too engaged with social media and stuff like that. They're always on their phones, and technology, they're all relying on things like that. But if they got rid of that, then people probably wouldn't be stuck at home playing video games or be on the phone all day on social media or chat or anything like that. There'll be more people out exploring the world like how it used to be. But people need to get fresh air, I think, as well.
Yeah, we are too dependent on computers, and I would be hopeless if they all switched off. I wouldn't know how to function any longer.
Also, we're definitely too dependent on computers. There's people using ChatGPT for things that probably humans should be writing.
And if it all got turned off, there would be we'd go back to the Stone Age. I'm pretty sure that mud houses and fighting with sticks.
Yeah, I think we are. I wouldn't know. If the internet goes down in my house, I don't know what to do with myself. I think we've become so dependent on them. I often wonder, how do people travel? I do the same route all the time, and I couldn't do it without sat-nav. I don't understand how people can just know where to go without a computer, because I've never had that. I don't understand, like, how you go on holiday. Like, everything I do is online, that I think our world would be so much smaller without the internet. And I think maybe we would evolve in other ways. Maybe we'd make more and we'd do more. But I think computers have given us such a great leap that we would be lost without them.
I honestly believe there would be like murderous riots at this point in this part of the world. But then again, you know, there's plenty of parts in the world where I don't think they'd even notice, particularly. So it depends where you are.
If they all got switched off, if all the computers got switched off, then maybe we should switch them all back again, and then various bugs which they had would no longer be persisting.
Are we too dependent on computers? I would like to see us less dependent on computers, because we're effectively, well, you think about it, humans are, what are they called? What are they called? Bionic people who are like half technology, half human. I forgot it. They're cyborgs. Thank you. We are cyborgs. Humans are effectively cyborgs. You've got a phone glued to your hand at all times. We are part technology. We are very dependent on technology. Too dependent? Probably. Be nice if we could be a little bit less, but it's only going to get worse. What would happen if they all switched off? Permanently, in perpetuity. Life would improve. We'd find purpose. Then the average person would find more purpose. But we wouldn't progress technologically. So it's a matter of divvying up what's important to you.
Oh, we have become quite dependent on computers, quite dependent. Too dependent, possibly, definitely, possibly. And like, I think if they're all to switch off, then I don't know. Hopefully, people don't get too scared or run crazy in the streets or something. I'd probably say to well, try and stay calm, and then we'll just revert back to times when we didn't have computers.
Well, I'm definitely too dependent on computers. I'm an animator, so my whole life is around computers. If we switched them off, I would struggle to feed my kids. So yeah, it would be disastrous. But I wouldn't mind giving it a whirl for a while if we could all just switch off. It'd be quite exciting to see how we adapt. I'm creative. I'm sure I could dream up something. I'd get into puppetry. That's what I'd do.
Yeah, I think we are too dependent on computers. If they all got switched off now, yeah, banking crises, stocks would plummet, the world would stop. Some cars would probably stop because they've got computers in them. Yeah, I think if everything was just to be switched off now, it would be disastrous, and we definitely do rely on them. However, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think that we have a lot of great technology that helps us in every day.
Entirely too dependent. I had to essentially teach myself to read a substantial chunk of text again, thanks to the corrosive effect that exposure to screens has. And that kind of scares me. I write, yeah, so I do that for a living, and I had lost my ability to read an actual book. So I had to train myself again by reading short stories, then went on to a short novel, then went on to a big novel. And it's still something I have to make sure I keep doing. It's terrifying.
Yeah, we probably are. But I feel like it would have a very negative impact if they all disappeared. But that kind of comes with us the pro of being very advanced with our technological kind of stuff. So there's pros and cons of being dependent, but I feel like it's just how it's a compromise for getting advanced with things. Yeah, I think we'd struggle. It'd be like a completely different way of life, and yeah, I don't know how people would cope. It'd just be a bit of chaos if they're all turned off.
Maybe. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer, but I think it's definitely made us a little bit more dependent, especially our generation. It would definitely cause a lot of damage to like the economy and stuff, I think, yeah.
Yes. I think we probably lose our minds.
Yeah, I work with a computer. I know half the people work with computers. And if they all got switched off, we would be back to square one. So, and people, what they don't know, they won't be bothered about, but because they've had a computer, they'll all be bothered about it.
Yeah, definitely. Everyone would have a meltdown. People with phones, all sorts. Internet banking. Everyone relies on it for everything, really.
Oh yeah, I think the whole world would go to plot, if I'm being honest. We use them for everything. Everything as soon as I wake up, I'm on my phone straight away. Yeah, all the big businesses, technology is a massive thing. I think in a good way, that it has made life a lot easier and we have been able to evolve, but like I said, we've gotten lazier. So in that sense, I don't think a lot of people would know what to do if technology disappeared.
I think if they all got switched off, and it was with people like you and me, not people who live in rural, we would struggle a lot. But I think mentally, we would all benefit.
Yeah, I feel like technology has made a massive impact on people. I'd say more in a negative way. Computers, phones, has kind of taken over the world. In a way, sometimes it's needed, but it has taken a massive impact. And if all of them got turned off, everyone would be going psychopathic. So, yeah.
Yes, I do think we are too dependent on computers because we use them literally in our daily lives without even realising, and I think everyone would panic if they turned off because no one would know what to do without them because we use them so much.
I think we are way too dependent because even like the little things, like if you're trying to get a bus and you need to know the times, like where do you look online? So I think people would be very confused about where to go and like how to do certain things.
I don't think anything would happen. I think all of a sudden people would start talking to each other a bit more. I think life would be probably a bit calmer. I think it's like when I go back home to Barbados, my hometown. When I go back home, I don't take my laptop. I find I'm doing things that I did 20, 30 years ago. We go for walks on the beach first thing in the morning. Then we have breakfast, we do a bit of reading. I just think life would be totally different.
I think we're definitely too dependent on computers. I think if they suddenly got switched off, we'd have to learn pretty quick. And different skill sets would suddenly become very valuable.
I mean, we definitely are. We definitely are, but they're so useful and so great for everything that it is the way it is. And if they all just switched off, yeah, it would be a state of panic. I mean, we saw in COVID, everyone, as soon as there was the slightest hint of panic, all the shops were emptied and everything. So I can't imagine if computers went off.
I think our generation is like me and you two. I think definitely. But I think our parents, if they were to lose all phones and whatnot, I think it would take them a minute, but they get back into it. But I feel like for us, because we've grown up with it and we've seen the jump, we're going to be like, what do we do? I can't search something up. I can go libraries would just skyrocket in popularity because everyone's trying to find stuff out.
I wouldn't say we are too dependent. I think that computers have their positives and negatives. Obviously, social media has its has a lot of negatives, but I think if it all got switched off, the world would just be in chaos. I don't know how people, because it's not even like computers, just like your phone. It's just things being made, crops being harvested. It's just everything would just come to a standstill. We'd have to go back to the old ways.
I don't think we're too dependent on computers, really. I think computers are really useful, and if they all got switched off, absolutely God knows what would happen. We would descend into pure chaos. I think there's two ways of answering this question. One is like kind of on a practicality side that yeah, we definitely are. But I think there's also like a very real mental health side that we've all become so reliant on computers to live our lives, to define what's happy, to define what jobs we're going to get and who we're going to speak to and who we're going to meet. And that's become almost a bit of an over-reliance, I think.
Oh my god, I actually watched a video about this once. If that actually happened, like the world would like literally end, like everything would start collapsing, like the like water like things would all like stop working, like gas things would like explode because obviously technology is like responsible for so much in that sort of environment. I think we're not dependent on computers in the sense that we kind of need them like in our day-to-day lives. And also in saying that if everything kind of stopped working, the world would like literally just like end.
So there you have it. Nearly everyone thinks we are too dependent on computers. If they were all switched off, some predict chaos. Others think we would quickly return to the Stone Age, and some believe it would be a good thing. The big question is, how would you react if every computer in the world suddenly got switched off?